Well, it sounds interesting, making the UK a green superpower. How would that work, and how would you get it implemented in 6 years, which is what Sir Keir's talking about?
Good morning, yes. Well, look, it's exciting to be here at the start of Labour Party conference, and as you say, it's a chance for us to set out our alternative to the government. So you've got that big budget on last Friday where the government's gone for this very strong cut taxes for the well-off policy in order to grow the economy, and we disagree with that. And this policy today that you've mentioned is a fine example of what we think the alternative should be. So investment in clean energy, investment in skills and training, fixing the Brexit deal so it works, sorting out business rates, and specifically why this is so exciting is we've seen the damage caused to households and businesses by being so exposed to the regional and global price of gas. We've got to decouple ourselves from that. We've got fantastic natural resources in terms of what we can do on renewable energy, on energy efficiency, on new nuclear. And yes, it is realistic to say we can take fossil fuels out of the energy mix by 2030, no longer be exposed to these global prices, and indeed be able to export energy that we make here in the UK to our neighbours, have money coming into the country from that. That to us is a better long-term plan for growth and prosperity for the country, and it's a great chance to be able to set it out today.
But is it what people want to hear? At the moment, ordinary working families are really worried about their upcoming heating bills. They're worried about the cost of living in general. They're worried about energy security. And even those who are against things like fracking and pro-green are now rethinking their views on that. So is a green future, and I can see there's a banner behind you saying Labour, a fairer, greener future, so you're obviously putting a great emphasis on this, but is that what people really want to hear when they're taking practical decisions at the moment, just getting by?
Yes, I think it is, Anne. So we obviously led over the summer with that policy to freeze household energy bills, and that is what people clearly need. But they also need that longer-term plan. You know, how are we going to stop being exposed to fossil fuel prices, this volatility, which has come principally, in this case, from the Russian illegal invasion of Ukraine. But that's only going to continue in terms of if you risk your country being exposed in heating and electricity prices to fossil fuel generation. So yes, they need that longer term plan. And of course, look at the assets we have in this country, our onshore wind, our offshore wind capacity, our chance for the marine energy, and indeed our nuclear sites. We've got the potential here in the UK for a position which is not only more secure, not is only cheaper, but actually, of course, yes, tackles the big challenge of climate change. And I think you put those three things together, it is a compelling case for a future. And yes, the public clearly supports that based on the polling on these issues.
But what the experts tell us is that our wind power is not reliable enough. We haven't got suitable storage for any spare electricity that's being made. So there would be a high resilience on nuclear power, wouldn't there? Well, you're not going to get any new plants built within 6 years.
Well, that isn't what the experts say about the volatility of renewable energy. We have a substantial, some days already our mix in terms of electricity generation is well over 50% in terms of renewable generation. So we're able to manage this. You're right to say you need peaking power in the transition. That will come when storage is available at scale. It will also come from what's called carbon capture and storage. So existing gas plants where you're capturing the emissions. Again, a technology which we have the possibility of leading much of the world in. So it's whether you choose to embrace these opportunities for the future or simply look to the past and leave us more exposed to this volatility in natural gas prices, even if you were able to get areas to agree to fracking, which frankly I don't think you'd be able to do. So look, there's huge and exciting possibilities there, and our job as the opposition is not just to, for instance, articulate that we will do things like freeze energy prices when people are facing the bills they are right now. It's to have that longer term future of how we can grow the economy and deliver energy security and climate change resilience at the same time, and that's why these things are so important.
You're talking about creating 200,000 jobs as well, which sounds like great news, but where are they going to live? What are you going to do about housing?
Well, housing, I mean, no one can deny the scale of the housing market's problems in the UK is extremely severe. I think personally it's very much about land use. It's about how to get land at the price required to build housing on, and there'll be some further details. It's not my responsibility, unfortunately, to be able to announce some of that, but there will be some further details that we'll be announcing on that this week and in the weeks ahead.
The tax cuts that have been introduced. If you get into power, what do you do in the first budget? Do you reverse all of that?
Well, we're going to be setting out some plans on tax later today. We will certainly be voting against the cut in the top rate of income tax. I think it's very clear to say, by the way, that if you look at the reaction to the mini-budget, this clearly wasn't a budget designed to appeal to the British people, but more concerning for the government is the fact that the financial markets have no confidence in it either. You've seen the cost of borrowing rise, you've seen the value of sterling decline. So I'm afraid the government themselves are going to have to react to that in the weeks or months ahead, possibly with further spending cuts to public services. I would imagine the Bank of England will have to take further action on interest rates. But I'm afraid everyone needs to understand that the verdict, the dispassionate verdict from people who are investors, traders looking at the UK, is that they don't think the government's plans are sustainable. I'm afraid the Chancellor and the Prime Minister have gambled with the British economy, with everyone's mortgages and jobs, and I'm afraid there'll have to be further measures from the government, I would imagine, even before we get a chance for Labour to come to power and fix this damage.